This is down there with Threshold. This is down there with Move Along Home. My boys. It's it's hard to when an episode is really bad. It's way harder to review. Okay. If I can stretch this into a whole review, I would have done just as heinous a job as the writers for this episode did in stretching this much script into an hour, okay? Leave it to Discovery to take a life-threatening and time-critical plot and waste my time with it. Okay? It's not enough to waste your time on the show. You had to go and waste my time. This is one of the few episodes of Star Trek where I genuinely feel the flow of the series and season in general would operate better without it existing. This episode, there's no reason to have it. Well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to break down the episode up front to bullet points about the things that matter, and then I'm gonna do a full breakdown of the plot points, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. So I'm gonna get across to you what you need to take out of this episode, what actually happens. Okay. God forbid you're watching the show right now, but if you are, and you really don't want to watch this episode 2, Anomaly of Star Trek Discovery Season 4, you could potentially watch this video and be done, okay? Here's what happens in this episode. We get a recap of last episode and relevant events from Season 3 that we need to know. Starfleet, Federation, Navarre, which was Vulcan, gathered around the round table. What are we going to do about the gravitational anomaly that you remember from the last episode? Destroyed that space station and destroyed Kuei Jan, Boke's home planet. What are we going to do about it? We'll send the Discovery. Discovery goes there. We learn that we are constructing a synthetic android body for Gray, Adira's Trill ghost, if you will, if you know how Trills work. And we get the data we needed from inside the anomaly. And the data is useless. That's the episode. We started off knowing nothing about the gravitational anomaly, and we ended knowing nothing about the gravitational anomaly, but we just happen to know that Dr. Culber is designing a body that can be inhabited by Gray somehow. There's your paragraph. There's your plot. That's what happens in this episode. That's all you need to know. Nothing else is necessary to move forward. And this episode is absolutely full of extraneous, pointless, cringe-inducing, and contrived dialogue just to fill time. This episode is just treading water. It's just punching the clock, baby. This is the writers and everybody in the writing room punching the goddamn clock to get their money and get out. There's no reason to have this episode. It's just there to say we had it. That's it. You can tell this because you cannot go 10 seconds in this episode without the classic Star Trek Discovery affirmation speech. You're great. Listen, nobody beats you. We're in this together. We're friends, aren't we? Don't you know I love you? You're so great. You're the best. I wish I was that cool. You guys are all so great. I'm about to cry. We have faith in each other. Out here, in space, where we're all alone. But we're not alone, because I have you. I love you. I love me. Most importantly, I love me. But I love you too a little. It's almost worth it to check out this episode just to see what I'm talking about. It's that insane. It's like learning nothing from season 3. Uniforms look like hospital gowns. They drape weird. CGI is horrible. I couldn't tell what was going on. I mean, what they did for the graphical effects of the anomaly and the debris field in this, I don't know what was going on. I just saw a book ship flying around a bunch of crap. And I know this review doesn't make sense chronologically. Because I can't, my mind is in a washing machine right now, being spun around, dinging off the inside, getting wet and soggy. That's okay. I'm gonna try to go through what happens. Okay. I mentioned before, we're having a meeting. Relevant parties, Federation, Starfleet, you know the deal. Other planets, non-Federation members. We need to jump Discovery to a safe distance away from the black hole to collect data to try to figure out how to predict where it's going and what it might be capable of doing. Sounds reasonable. I can't get into every little single piece of horrible dialogue, or I'd be here for a year. But most dialogue is nonsense. People asking things that barely make sense. Asking things they shouldn't be asking. Forgetting things they should know. And knowing things they shouldn't. And just... That's a very general take, but just roll with me. Discovery goes to the anomaly. It's being generated by black holes or something. 2 black holes perhaps at the same time. Binary black holes, what have you. We need to take Book's ship close to the anomaly to collect this data. What is it with Discovery and collecting data, by the way? Book is emotionally compromised. He just lost his home planet. Spock in Star Trek 2009, anybody? As if we could get any more Kelvin? We're so emotional. Everybody is just a powder keg ready to blow. So we're going to send Book's ship in tethered with a programmable matter tether. Kind of cool. So we don't lose control of Book's ship. But guess what? We're sending a hologram of Stamets to coach Okay, we're sending a hologram of Stamets, who is the spore drive engineer, to go along with Book on his ship while he flies, and Stamets collects the data. I was not aware that Stamets was the most qualified to be collecting data like this. Is he the science officer? I thought he was an engineer, but I don't know. Even they don't think it makes sense to send him because Stamets disagrees, and then they don't get along at all. They're fighting each other basically, and the writers think I'm supposed to understand something about these characters, but I kind of don't. I don't know why they're fighting. This episode was written as if they don't like each other. That had not been my experience. Maybe I was trying to watch season 3 and fell asleep and missed some scenes, but I thought that they were on okay terms. I don't think they really shared many scenes together. Anyway, we're supposed to have a overly dramatic fight between the two of them over who's really in control of this mission when we're flying in here to get our data. So something goes wrong. So they need to stay in longer, but they can't. I'm giving her all she's got, Captain. We need that data. And Burnham has a private call with Book in a isolation sphere around her chair, so that way we don't have to have her go to her ready room. That way we didn't have to do that. And they have a heart to heart. Sometimes it's hard to heart to heart, but this time we hearted to heart, and I guess it worked because she trusts Book in maneuvering his ship out of the debris field, and Bryce, finally we get one of the other characters on the bridge doing something, and Bryce reveals he used to be a surfer, and he was suggesting that they use the gravitational waves to surf Book's ship out of the debris field like this is a cartoon or something. And Burnham asks to have the gravitational wave diagram converted to programmable matter on her desk or chair, arm of her chair, so she can feel the waves. So somehow she's qualified to make a call on when to do surfing, when to hit a wave while surfing. Bryce said this, that he was a surfer and he knew how to use waves to get speed. I assumed Bryce was going to be doing that. Why wasn't Bryce feeling the... Why was it Burnham? I would have said, Bryce, you take the seat and you tell me what to do here, because I've never surfed before. Can you explain to me how this works? I mean, we're going to convert the wave to programmable matter. And can you do that and basically tell Book when to gun it, But that's not what happened. I guess years of surfing knowledge was transplanted into Burnham's brain in 1 second, so she could feel the wave and tell Book when to hit the gas on his ship, even though Bryce came up with this idea a second ago. Why does it work? Oh. So the first time fails, and the second time Book somehow makes it out on some kind of weird gravitational way. The visual effects, I can't parse out what's happening. But they get out, and they're safe, I guess. And this is a very emotional episode, if you didn't catch my drift earlier. Everybody's on a little emotional journey that they don't deserve, because this is the second episode of the season. Starting a fresh adventure. The emotional heart-to-heart moments. Maybe that should be towards the end of the season. Maybe before or after something horrible happens. But this is Discovery, and something horrible always happens, so... Burnham is talking to Michael, and they're consoling each other. Gray is doing it to Adira. Stamets and Book are doing it to each other. Sarah was back on the ship. Did I mention that? Sarah, the joy of seeing Sarah back kind of gets lost in the cacophony of nonsense. Sorry to say. And the little nasty rotten cherry on top of this feces pie is when Tilly is briefing Saru on the data that they collected. She's explained to Saru, listen, when you guys were in this ship and Book was in his ship and you felt these gravitational anomalies, they were like different from each other or something. And because of that, and because of the way this data works out, listen, and she starts to almost cry. We don't know where the anomaly is going. There is no way to predict which way it's going. Which is what we thought when the episode started. We didn't know anything about the anomaly at the beginning. We know nothing about it now. We risked our life for nothing. And yeah, that happens in real life. But when you do it in a show, you're wasting my goddamn time. Okay? Things happen in shows for a reason, not no goddamn reason. Okay? God. Why? Tilly, every line Tilly says is nightmare in this episode. She's crying. She's laughing, jovial, and pep in her step, putting on a strange voice and a strange act talking to Culber. And then the next second she's almost crying. Just the thought of this person being first officer or captain for 1 second just gives me heart palpitations. Just the thought of it is so frightening. If you don't know, Adira was a character that we picked up on the crew in season 3. Adira has a trill in her body. It's essentially like a, if you don't know, it's a trill is like a slug. It crawls up in your body and you become its host and your memories join. And then when your body dies, they take that trill and put it into another body. Okay? And it's a very important procedure for the trill people. Trills and symbionts live together in harmony. Trill, the host and the symbiont are coexist in their own culture. Adira, her trill symbiont is Gray, and she talks to Gray as if Gray is a physical person. No one else can see this person, but she talks to Gray, and I'm saying she, but it might be they. So they want to create a body that can be inhabited just by Gray, the symbiont, which is really walking back a lot of what symbionts are supposed to be. I mean, it's kind of interesting too. If you've watched Deep Space Nine, I'll put it in context. This is kind of like if Jadzia, well, imagine Ezri, if she could talk to a physical manifestation of Jadzia that she could see but no one else could see. Her access to the memories of her symbiont was that powerful. She could see Jadzia. Now imagine we're taking a blank synthetic body similar to Data, and we're transplanting just specifically the thoughts of Jadzia into that body to undo the trill joining. If that makes sense. If you've seen Deep Space Nine, that'll make sense. If not, just know that we're essentially taking a thought from Adira's brain and putting it into the body of a robot that it can be. Essentially, we're taking the soul of Gray and putting it in this robot body, and Hugh Culber is showing them what we're going to do with the body. We're going to remove this mole. We're going to do this, yada, yada, yada. They name drop Picard being converted into an android in a similar process, which is just gross. Don't mention Picard. what I just described is kind of the only thing that advances plot-wise with Adira and Gray. I think that's really it. I think nothing else is of any serious import. And I wish I could say this was standard fare for Discovery, but frankly, this is very bad for Discovery. This is first episode of season 4. I said was good by Discovery standards. This is actually bad by Discovery standards. But objectively speaking, it scores in the grand scheme of Star Trek. It scores very, very low. But in Discovery standards, it scores low, but not crazy low. Like, it doesn't hit 1, like some episodes of Picard did. I will say again, if it is Jeff Russo still doing the background music, fantastic job. There's a very nice track in this episode that plays when they're entering the gravitational anomaly. It was fresh. It had a nice cadence to it. It got me pumped up, and it had a sound that was all its own. So very well done on the sound in this episode. Theme song is still the worst in Star Trek history. But good background noise and music and sound. That's where they did a good job. Visually is terrible. Plot terrible, writing terrible. The CGI has gotten so bad I can't see anything. It's just dim. It's a dim splotch. Ugly show. Ugly. Totally outclassed in every regard by the animated shows. I thought maybe every season I go into it and I think maybe this is it. Maybe we can just throw out everything that happened before. Maybe we can just start fresh. We're going to the future. We're going to start fresh. And then we go right back to end of the world nonsense, doom and gloom, and affirmation statements. Do these writers not know their parents? Did they have a problem with their parents? It sounds like nobody hugged them when they were kids. Because that's all they want to do when they're writing is have people hug each other and love each other and whisper niceties into their ear while people get frigging slaughtered around them. It's the weirdest dichotomy. It's frightening. This is I wouldn't say this is the bottom of the barrel totally, but it's definitely in the bottom. This is probably in the bottom, like, 50 episodes of Star Trek. It's in the bottom 50. There's a lot of episodes of Star Trek if you don't know. TOS, TNG, D Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery Season 1, 2, 3, Picard Season 1, Lower Deck Season 1 and 2, and Prodigy Season 1 so far, as well as all those movies. This is in the bottom 50. And back in the day, we didn't have 10 episode seasons, boy. We had the 20 plus episode seasons back in the day. So I'm talking a large sample pool of data when I say that this is in the bottom 50. So this is down there with Threshold. This is down there with Move Along Home, my boys. This is down there with Spock's Brain. This is down there with These Are the Voyages. This is down there with Stardust City Rag. So it's very hard to do a succinct, sensible, and logically chronological review when the episode makes you feel like a zombie. You feel like a skeleton. You feel like you lost weight watching this episode. You dropped so many IQ points that you lost about 50 pounds. Does that make sense? Not really. So I'm going to have to award this episode God, man. This episode was one F-bomb away from a 2. But because we didn't get that, I'm going to have to go 2.5. What's the only redeeming factor I'd say here is that the music is alright. And we don't see any characters get physically tortured. And another redeeming quality is that it doesn't actively ruin things. It's just kind of blah. It's kind of nothing, right? So I guess it's slightly better than actively assassinating the series like some episodes do. It's not an assassination attempt against Star Trek like you see sometimes. On behalf of you-know-who in charge of these episodes, in charge of the franchise since a while ago. There's your 2.5. There's your 2.5 out of 10 episode. What do you guys think? Was it your favorite? If it was, maybe you should consider going to the hospital. See you guys later. This is Mark. I think I'm Mark. I'm kind of confused right now. Goodbye.